Hi, I'm Chris Pratt. I'm a lecturer at DBS, the Sound and Music Institute, and an Ableton certified trainer. In this video, we'll be exploring follow actions and their new features in Ableton Live 11. We'll look at follow action basics, new follow action features in Live 11, how we can use follow actions to add variation to loops, and using follow actions to remix our arrangements in Session View. If you want to jump ahead to any of these sections, there'll be a timestamp in the description. Also, if you've got any questions about any of the topics covered, please feel free to post them in the comment section. So I've got a live set up here with some simple audio files.
1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4.
And as you can hear at the moment that they're all looping, so I'm going to hold Shift and click on all of them and turn off loop. It's a handy feature that you can select multiple clips in Session View by using the Shift in combination with clicking on different ranges of clips, and we'll be using that a lot throughout this tutorial. So first, let's just talk about what follow actions are. So typically we'd arrange our clips or regions in another DAW along a timeline, and these kind of editors, these DAWs, are known as non-linear editors for this reason. And I think it's a bit of a misnomer, because after working with Live and Session View for a while, you start to realize that actually positioning clips on a timeline is actually still quite a linear way to work, perhaps not quite as linear as working with tape, because we can always go back and change those. But once you've worked with Session View for a while, you start to realize that actually going back and changing things is something that you don't tend to do very often, because you get quite committed, particularly to complex edits, and to go and rearrange all of those on the timeline can be a little bit of work. So Session View offers us a great way to perform with these clips. We can obviously trigger them, but what if we want to go and create sequences of these clips? This is where follow actions come in. So typically in Live, how we'd go about using follow actions, and I'm just going to work on all of these clips at the same time, would be to go down into our clip inspector in the sample editor, and we'd expand this section where we could see the follow actions and the launch preferences. So to turn on follow actions, we just click on the follow action button, and I'm going to turn off this new linked feature for a minute, and we're just going to look at this section, which is how we used to interact with follow actions. And this is how we'd define a time. So we'd say, I'm going to say I want each of these to play for 1 beat and then fire the next clip. So I'm going to say there's no bars, because this counts in bars, beats and sixteenths. I want this to count to 1 beat and no sixteenths. And now each of these clips, if we click on them individually, we can see has an unlinked time, follow action time value of 1 beat. So now we can specify an action to be triggered when that time has elapsed. So we do that in these boxes here. So I'm going to use next, but you can see that there's a variety of different actions that we can perform. We'll look at those in a minute. So first I'm going to pick next, and you'll see that there's 2 boxes. I can actually pick 2 different actions, and I can specify a probability or a ratio of it choosing one or the other. So with 50-50, it's going to be 50% likelihood that it's going to pick next and 50% likelihood that it's going to pick previous clip. For now, though, we'll just concentrate on the making it 100% one follow action, and just to avoid confusion, I'll set this back to no action. And now if we fire our clip at the top here, we should expect each of them to fire in order.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
And you notice that when it gets to the last clip, because it sees this block of clips and nothing beyond that, with all of the actions except for one of the new ones that's been added, it then fires the next one being the first clip again. We can change these actions, so we could say, let's play previous, and we could count backwards from 4.
4, 3, 2, 1, 4, 3, 2, 1, 4.
And this is all pretty useful. This next and previous might be useful for navigating through a set where you've got perhaps sections of your arrangement and you want to go through them in a particular order while you're perhaps performing another instrument. It can help you create backing tracks that are a bit more dynamic, so you can still have some degree of editing. You can always go and fire these clips in a different order, but left unattended, they will continue to scroll through in the order that you define in the follow actions. So that's how we typically work with follow actions. There are some other actions that are really useful though. So for example, rather than saying previous or next, we could get it to count to 4 and then stop. So I'm going to say stop and then change these top 3 to be next again.
1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3.
And 4 still actually has previous in it. I want to change that to stop. There we go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
We can also set our actions to do a variety of other things. So we could get it to jump to the last or the first clip. It's pretty self-explanatory. Some of the interesting ones, though, are any and other. So any is effectively just a random follow action. So that's going to say after you've counted your follow action time, in this case 1 beat, you're going to trigger any other clip, and that's including yourself. So it could repeat itself, it could play one of the others. So let's hear what that sounds like.
1, 4, 4, 2, 4, 3, 2, 4, 2, 1, 4, 1, 1, 4, 3, 3.
So you heard there was some repetition in there. We've also got a follow action called other, and this is very similar to any, but it's just going to say that you can play a random clip but only another clip than yourself, so we won't get any repetition this time.
1, 2, 4, 3, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 4.
So these quite simple follow actions are actually really, really powerful to create sort of probabilistic arrangements, to create some really a combination of randomness and predictable. So you can really get this to jump around to create some really meaningful musical time-based effects. We'll look at that a bit more in a minute. But first, let's have a look at the way that we can now interact with this rather than having to set time and having to think in bars, beats, and having to put in numerical values. Now we can actually do this more graphically by linking the follow action time to the clip end in this case. So you can see that down here, clip end is now selected. And if we go into one of these clips, you'll see that now when I move this end point, this little green flag, which is the follow action time marker, moves along with the clip end. So if I was to change this for this first clip,
1, 4, 1, 2, 3.
You can hear that now triggers the follow action after an eighth note rather than a quarter note. I'm going to move that back again. And let's just have a look at what happens if I drag the follow action time marker independently. You'll see that now goes to unlinked mode, and I can actually move around and even set unlinked values graphically as well, which is really handy. I'm just going to link that again.
1, 3, 1, 2.
Let's now have a look at one of the other new features added. I'm just going to trigger these on next again. Let's put the next action in. And this time, instead of looping back around and going to the top, actually, let's look at one other thing before we move on, actually. If I go and take all the follow actions off on here, and regardless of me setting up any follow actions, in fact, let's do this by saying no action on all of them. I can now select a range of clips, and I can right click and I can say create follow action chain.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2.
And you can see that what that's done is that has taken the length of the clips currently, and it's used the linked follow action time, and it's added next to all of these. And it's in fact added this follow action, which is jump to the last clip. And this is a new follow action that's been added with Live 11. And this is incredibly powerful because previously there was no way to jump over gaps like this and to get clips to play different groups of clips further down in a session view track. So what this jump action does is allows us to specify a specific scene to jump to. So at the moment, that follow action chain is specified to jump back to scene 1, but I could also specify to jump to scene 6, where this A is. So let's go and do that. Let's type in 6 here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 8.
And now let's create some follow actions on here, and let's say go to the next clip, and then on D we'll say jump. And we'll get this jump to jump back to scene 1.
1, 2, 3, 4, 8, B, C, D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, B, C, D, 1.
So that's pretty powerful, especially when you consider that this helps you to kind of jump across the groups that might be more random and then jump back to more ordered groups of clips. So this last clip is going to jump over to A, but let's say that on D rather than, actually let's say on all of these, it's going to play any.
1, 2, 3, 4, 8, D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, D. 8, B, D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, D. B, 8, B, D, D, 8, B, B, D.
It's incredibly powerful. Also, there's one other thing to consider while we're in here. Let's just change this back to next. We can also create loops, so we can fire follow actions that are linked, but we can also say, because these are now looped, we can say how many loops do we want to elapse before we want the follow action to be performed. So if I change this to 2, we should now get
1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 1, 1.
repetitions to the specified multiplier that we've added.
1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 1, 1, 1.
So pretty cool, and we can set up some pretty complex behavior like this, but let's have a look at a different example now. And this is something that I do quite a lot. I use follow actions to create variations on my loops. So often I might record in material and I create the core part of a drum part, and then I might also play in or sequence some different fills. And I kind of know that what I'm likely to do with that is to say like every last beat of a bar, or every 4th bar of a 4-bar section, or 8th bar of an 8-bar section, I'm likely to want to put some kind of variation in there to keep things fresh. And I might have a number of those different variations. And at some point I'll probably go in, and then typically I'd arrange those along a timeline, and I'd go and add those variations in. But then that's still quite a static thing. And if you're doing that while you're trying to build a track up, it can get quite boring to listen to, and then you can get de-invested in ideas that you've come up with. I find that this helps you to really start to kind of create those structures fast that you're likely to use, those kind of songwriting or arranging tricks and composition tricks that you know are kind of there in your head and you will do them. And this kind of lets me get to that point quicker and start to keep ideas fresh, because I can start to kind of program my compositional ideas and techniques into clips before I need to jump over to the arrangement view and start to kind of lay them down or set them in stone. So what I've got here is just one single clip that, if I just extend this back out for you, this is just one bar, and if I loop it, you'll hear, if I turn this track on,
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So this might represent, like I said, a drum beat or something, and there might be a snare fill or something at the end of here. So what I'm going to do is just make this play for 3 beats, and I've got the linked mode on, and then I'm going to make each of these clips just 1 beat long, which they already are, and I'm going to then say that this can play any other clip once it's finished playing, and then I'm going to say that all of these clips that are potentially going to get played by that other follow action will all trigger the first clip. So that means that it's always going to add up musically. So I'm going to get my 1, 2, 3, some other beat, and let's have a listen to what that sounds like.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1.
So if you imagine that they're going to be different fills or something in a drum break, or different accents that you might put on a synth line, or an effect that you're recording, it can really start to keep the interest going. And follow actions on clips can become like a collaborator if you're working on your own in a track, and quite often you can be kind of working on other things and playing things. And you might have lots of different various ideas that you don't need to bother going and programming. You can see how powerful that is. I could have had, as many different variations as I liked in this track, and just by clicking on all of them and saying they all need to jump back to the first clip, and then this one, I can just decide how long it plays before it plays these variations. that will just keep things fresh. It will keep doing something different, and that can kind of coincide with while you're doing things. And it's like having, someone to collaborate with effectively. Little things will happen and coincide with things that you're doing on another instrument, and it can really, help you to kind of generate ideas. So let's have another look at that in a bit more context. So I've got a drum loop already prepared here. So I've just created this 1.5 bar section, and then I've got some half bar loops here. So in fact, actually this one needs to probably loop 4 times. So I've got some that loop, and I've got others that don't. So I don't think these will need to loop because they're all the right length. So you can see that this one is half a bar. It's 2 beats long. This one's 2 beats long. This one's 2 beats long. This one's shorter. It's only 1 beat. So in fact, actually, let's just check that. Actually, this one, needs to repeat 4 times because it's actually a 8th note, I believe. So let's create some follow actions like we did with the previous example. So we're going to say this one plays other, and we'll just move this clip down for now. And then all of these clips play and then play the first clip again. And you may have noticed that what I've done here is effectively just, I've got a drum break here, and it's got lots of different flurries in here and fills. And so I've picked out different fill sections with each of these clips. So let's, it's going to kind of remix this in a programmatic way for us. Again, we can combine that with the previous thing that we looked at, which was the jump follow action. So we can make this jump across and jump down to scene 8. So let's program that in, and you can see that I've already prepared that. And then again, we can get this one to play any other of this group, and we can make all of these play the first clip again, so this one. And then again, this one, we can make this jump back all the way up to 1. And I've already put that in there. So let's have a listen to what that sounds like. So now with this new jump mode, along with those features that I've just shown you, you can create some quite complex variations just in Session View without ever needing to go back and arrange stuff. So there's just some examples of how powerful that can be. For my final example, I've got some clips here from one of the remixes that we worked on, and this is just a load of parts from a track that we remixed, and this is where one of the other new features in Live 11 comes in incredibly useful. So we've got scene-based follow actions now, so we can click on these scenes, and you'll see that we've got a follow action section down in where the clip view in inspector would be. And so now I can go and say that perhaps I just want to try a random arrangement of this. So I'm going to select all of them. I'm going to turn on follow actions. I might do this over a number of bars generally, but I'm going to make it quite obvious. So I'm going to play, let's play any, and let's just let it play for 1 bar. Obviously these sections are a lot longer than that, but it will give you an idea. Notice that we haven't got a follow action, a linked follow action time, because there's no loop braces or end point to link this to, because it's actually in the button itself. Now let's just trigger this. So a great way to try out some random arrangements of your song ideas if you've got a performance set that you've got split up into different scenes and you want to try those scenes in different orders that you might not have thought of. This can be a great way to do that. It can also be used in a lot more kind of useful ways. Not that isn't useful, but in a lot more kind of traditional ways. So let's just go and turn off follow actions for a minute. Or actually, let's go and put no action in all of them. And by the way, you'll have noticed throughout this that while there's a follow action in the clips, you'll notice that these playheads turn into hatch lines, and that was the same for the clip playheads on the clips that we were adding follow actions to. So it's a nice visual indicator. We can also suspend follow actions as well. So if I was to go and do that again, notice that these lights are flashing to indicate that the next clip's going to play. Let's say we want to leave it here. I can hit this button on the master track and now the follow actions have been suspended, and then I can re-enable them again, and then when I trigger the next scene they're going to be active again. This works for individual clips as well. It's just globally all the follow actions are suspended with this this button over here. So just one more example then of how this can be useful. Let's say I sometimes use follow actions in a performance set if I'm going to be working on effects and the structure of a piece isn't really the thing that I'm focusing on performing, and I might be having, like playing some synths live and manipulating effects on all of those tracks. So I want the structure to keep on playing, but I also want to have individual scenes so that I can perhaps occasionally jump to a particular part of a track. But typically I might be triggering them myself. But there are examples where, for example, in this track that there's this really short clip that needs to be triggered after 1 bar when all of the others are about 16 bars long. So this breakdown really needs to happen in the right order, and I could forget, during the 16 bars of the second part of this breakdown, I might forget to trigger this clip, or when I trigger it I may forget that it's only 1 bar long. So it might be useful to have this set up in such a way that the breakdown just plays. So once I'm in the breakdown, I know I can be off manipulating other things and it will drop when I need it to. So what I can do is go into this one and say this one needs to be 16 bars, and then actually this one needs to be 1 bar. It's the false entry, and this one is 16 bars. And then this one, after that 1 bar, plays the next clip, and this one plays the next clip. So I could be performing my setup until this point, and then I can trigger the breakdown, and I can be keeping an eye on these pie graphs on the tracks to show me how far we've progressed through the current scene. And as these clips are 16 bars long, I can see that they're kind of 3/4 of the way through about now. So the last 4 bars are underway, the last couple of bars. It triggers that 1 bar bridge, and then we're over. So yeah, combining follow actions with traditional clip triggering and scene triggering is another really incredibly useful thing to do, and the fact that we can now do that in scene launch buttons is going to save an awful lot of time, because we could have done this before, but it would have meant that we'd have to go in and select all of our clips and set up for the same follow action on all of them. And it particularly with jump now allowing us to jump across these sections, if we wanted to do this with clips, we would have had to put dummy clips in here just to hold follow actions in order to keep the sequence running. It was quite convoluted, but it was still possible, but now it's going to be so much simpler. So yeah, that's been how to work with follow actions. My name's Chris Pratt, and you've been watching my tutorial on follow actions in Ableton Live 11 for DBS, the Sound and Music Institute channel. If you've got any final questions, drop them in the comments below, and if you've enjoyed this video and would like to see more, please subscribe and ring the bell.